with?
Daniel.
All right.
This is my roommate from Alaska.
Yep, my good buddy Daniel Oepkes here. We're in Mammoth Lakes and just gonna interview Dan a bit. So, Dan, where did you grow up at?
I grew up in a suburb of San Diego called Carlsbad. Well, when I was born, we lived in Encinitas. When I turned 7, moved to Carlsbad, and then went to Indianapolis for school, and then Seattle. Worked for Enterprise with Colin. Moved to Alaska. We were roommates up there.
Heck yeah.
That was a great time. Alaska was amazing. And then now I live here. Moved back to Seattle, and now I'm living and working. I work in IT for Mammoth Mountain Ski Area.
Sick. And how often would you say you came up to Mammoth before moving here?
I came up all the time. It was like a second home. My dad has always been a big fisherman, so he always took my brother and I up here to go fishing. Pretty much every summer, usually 2 to 3 times every summer for a few weeks at a time. And then in the winter, we'd come up and go skiing and snowboarding and do all that sort of fun stuff. And now I get to do it every day of the year. I get to go. I also have a love of mountain biking, so I get to do that too, and photography, as you can see with the tripod.
Do you also have a love of shoveling?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you guys have been watching Colin's videos, but we shoveled 8 feet of snow this week and went on my roof and shoveled my roof too. Appreciate all Colin's help. He's the man.
No. So, you know, you grew up around the Carlsbad area, and then now you're here. What do you think is the biggest difference between here and Carlsbad, other than maybe the weather?
The whole 8 feet of snow thing?
Yeah, other than the
Carlsbad's
weather.
like, for anyone who's not familiar, I mean, it's pretty much like the rest of San Diego. It's a beach community. We lived about a mile or 2 from the beach. We're lucky to do that. But, no, Carlsbad, you know, you have a lot of... there's just a lot more resources to things. You know, you have box stores, you have normal stores. Here you get a lot more mom and pop shops. The nearest box stores to here are Carson City, which is about 2.5 to 3 hours away. Even more when the roads are snowy, or sometimes the highways are even closed. Thankfully, we can order just about anything online and get delivered here. We have all the major mail carriers, but I mean, besides like the obvious of, you know, being in the mountains versus the beach, and that, you know, it's a lot of resource type things, you know, mom and pops versus big box store type things up here. So.
And how about in terms of COVID and coronavirus? Do you feel like, how different do you feel like it is here in Mammoth versus, you know, maybe down in Orange County or, you know, some other place in SoCal?
I almost think it's been more strict here in Mammoth. You know, our economy here relies a lot on tourism, or it's pretty much all tourism based year round. So we've, you know, we get a lot of foreign travelers that come in, or just people from different cities or whatever. And I mean, I feel like the county here has been a lot more strict than even the state of California, which has also been extremely strict in COVID restrictions, just because, you know, we only have a small hospital here, and that's kind of been, you know, freaking a lot of people out. And, you know, people up here want to look after themselves, but at the same time, we value our tourism, and, you know, that's how I'm lucky enough to live up here and have a paycheck, and I value them, and, you know, my whole family does. We're all in the tourism industry, so it's a fine line and a balance that we've had to, you know, juggle here. And that's kind of how it's been. Probably a little bit less restrictive than some of the other states, or probably way more restrictive than some of the other states you've been in.
It's, you know, there were definitely some states that were pretty loosey-goosey with all the COVID stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's masks everywhere. You can't dine in at restaurants yet. You can't sit at bars. You can sit outside and take to-go orders, but you can't do that sort of stuff. And yeah, like lodging just opened back up here, and yeah, we've been lucky to have the ski resort open. We've been able to stay open for outdoor recreation, which has been awesome too.
Heck yeah. And then kind of switching gears a little bit, but Dan mentioned on his back there, he's got some photography gear. Heck yeah. And Dan does some pretty epic photos. As far as I'm concerned, he took a lot of photos when we were in Alaska. So do you want to talk maybe a little bit about what kind of photography you do, why
Sure.
you love it, and then I'll make sure to put up some links and stuff so you guys can check out some of Dan's stuff.
Yeah, I up here, I mean, it's pretty easy to do landscape and a little bit of wildlife photography up here. Those are my 2 favorites, I'd say. Action sports, or just action in general, is a lot of fun too. It's a lot like wildlife because it's just fast. You got to be fast with your shutter, and it's just a lot of the similar techniques that you learn. Either way, they work together. So, you know, obviously landscape, you can see how beautiful it is here. Really easy to do. I like to go out at night and do star photography, sunrise, sunset. When Colin and I were in Alaska, we got to see the Northern Lights a few times and photograph those up there. And that was pretty amazing. That was probably one of the coolest moments of my life right there. But yeah, it's a lot of wildlife and a lot of landscape up here. The wildlife that we get to see up here, like bears, eagles. Eagles are some of my favorites to photograph. Deer. We get every now and then a mountain lion or bobcat, but not too often. But that is pretty much that sort of stuff. Ducks. Typical mountain stuff that you see. And the bears we get here are black bears. They're not grizzly bears, so they're not as aggressive, but you still have to give them their distance. And you know, if you see a mama bear and cubs, you should stay away and not go close to them. They are wild animals up here. It's important to keep them wild, not to feed them, not to leave your trash open, things like that, because you do want to keep them wild. And once you start feeding a bear, then they're going to start becoming more domesticated up here, and that's not a very good thing as far as up here goes.
I would imagine you probably don't want bears right in your backyard.
No.
Awesome. Well,
it does happen though.
At the end, I always like to leave a little bit of space for you to shout out any businesses, any places. I think I have an inkling of who you might be shouting out, but
I mean, I work for Mammoth. It's a pretty awesome resort to ski at, and June Mountain is probably my favorite mountain ever to ski at, which is about 25 minutes up the road from Mammoth Lakes. But I mean, my parents also own a business here, June Lake Motel, so I'll give them a shout too. Very nice accommodations in June Lake.
That's what I was expecting.
Great for fishing in the summer, great for fall colors in the fall. Great, you know, there's things to do all year round. In the winter, obviously skiing. We have June Mountain's a mile away from our motel. It's pretty amazing skiing there, and not a ton of crowds, so that's really nice, especially during COVID. But even outside of COVID times, it's really nice to be able to ski and have your own run to yourself. Yeah, yeah, those are probably the business I'd shout out. There's other cool businesses in town, but those are the ones that are near and dear to me.
Perfect, man. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time to chat, and thanks for the brotherhood, man. I love it.
Oh yeah, right on. Good luck with the rest of your journey.
Awesome. Thanks, man.